Welcome everybody to tonight's Kansas Lend Family Education Series on Working is Possible, Information for Individuals with Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities. We have a great panel coming to speak with us tonight. I do want to let you know when our pictures are up like this on Zoom, you will show up on Facebook. So if you don't want to be seen on Facebook, to turn your camera off. So want to share that. And tonight we have representatives from Kansas Vocational Rehabilitation, Kelly Milner, Nancy Scott with Working Healthy, and Cheryl Locker and artist Brian from Project Search. So we'll get kicked off now tonight with Kelly Milner.
Hello, sorry for the delay. I was trying to find my mute button. I am Kelly Milner. I am with Vocational Rehabilitation for the state of Kansas. Thank you for having us today, and I look forward to teaching about what VR does and our pre-ET services, our pre-employment transition services. And I am happy to answer any questions at the end. I'll try to leave 5 or 10 minutes for questions. So vocational rehabilitation is a state organization, state and federal actually. We're 80% federally funded and 20% state funded. Voc Rehab is in every single state, no matter where you live. In Kansas, we do have several offices across the state of Kansas. Here in the Kansas City region where I am from, we have an office in every single county, but that is not that way across the state. There might be that you'd have to travel to a different county to access VR services. Right now, we're doing a lot of teleworking. I am in the office today, but that will continue where we can meet with people via Teams, via phone, where you don't necessarily have to come in person to learn about our services and to get our services. So the goal of vocational rehabilitation is to help people with disabilities to gain or maintain employment. So we work with all kinds of disabilities. A big portion of who we serve is people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We've been very successful serving a lot of people with different types of disabilities because we're able to give them the support and the service that they need to be successful. Everybody's different, just like you all know. Every person with a disability, one person with autism, for example, if you know one person with autism, you know one person with autism and know what that person is like, because everybody is so different. And we fully believe that all services are individualized and we're going to give the person the support that they need to be successful in their job. That looks a lot different for a lot of different people. Some people come into our program and they only want job placement assistance, which is helping them with applications, helping them get their resume together, helping them with interview skills. Some people come under our program and want to get training. They want to go to college, which is great. We love to help people with training. We feel like if we provide training, they're able to get those higher wage, higher benefit jobs. So we offer that a lot, actually. We can do short-term training, like a 6-week training course and like CNA, for example, Certified Nurse Assistant. Or we can even help people get their degrees, including master degrees. So training and job placement are two of the main services that we provide at Kansas Vocational Rehabilitation. And then all the other services that we provide are all those support services that help people to gain and maintain employment or to be successful in their training program. So if a person received accommodation, for example, in high school, for training, we can help that person learn how to advocate and learn how to gain services in the college setting to help them get some of those same, hopefully, services in college so that they can be successful. If someone has a para, for example, in the classroom and has that one-on-one support and needs that one-on-one support to stay focused or to help provide breaks or whatever it is that they need that para in the classroom for, we can actually provide a job coach, is what we call it. And we could do coaching services while they're actually on the job. We can do that one-on-one. We can have them there the whole time. We understand that some people with disabilities need different levels of support, and some people need that high level of support. So that job coach is there side by side with them, helping them learn the job, and they will fade out when they can, but some people are going to need that coach for the lifetime of their employment. While VR can't keep people open forever and ever, we will work with these other agencies that are on the day, and we will try to transition as best we can to that other service, continue getting that supported employment funding and support. So other support services that we can provide are, one of the biggest ones I think is so important is mental health. A lot of people do not have insurance or do not have access for funding for mental health services. A lot of families out there, especially now, are struggling with finances and employment. So we can actually help people with mental health therapy, mental health medication management, mental health medications, and any other medications that help a person manage their disability. We really want people to be successful in our program and in their lives and in their employment. So we do whatever it takes to help a person get there. It might be an interview outfit. Some of our clients don't really have anything to wear to an interview. So we can help them learn what is appropriate to wear to an interview, and we can even pay for that. We paid for haircuts, eyeglasses. Sometimes people come to us and they're experiencing a dental issue. So we can help them take care of the infection or maybe pull the tooth or whatever it is that they need. We work with a lot of different people in VR. So we consider ourselves a little bit knowledgeable and about everything. We're not experts in anything, but we can refer out to agencies and people and providers that are experts in job coaching, for example, or mental health therapy, or learning how to work with benefits. How do I keep my benefits and I want to work? That is a huge source of concern for a lot of families. How am I going to keep my Medicaid? That Medicaid is so important to pay for all these therapies. And we will refer to other providers to talk with families about how working does affect benefits. So we like to work with a lot of different agencies in the community. We are open to bringing in any therapists that you may already have working with your son or daughter and work with them. And maybe we can start, paying them for that service too. So we are very much a team-centered approach. We are all about the client focus. We focus on strengths rather than focusing on the barriers. But yeah, we're going to talk about barriers a little bit to understand how we can best serve your son or daughter or family member. So after a person applies for our services, and I can send out information about the application process if you want that detail of information. There is an application on our website for vocational rehabilitation services. And after a person submits an application, then we're going to meet with them and do an initial interview. We're going to talk about what are your strengths? What kinds of work have you done in the past? Or what kind of work do you want to do? If you have absolutely no idea what you want to do, that's okay too. We can send for a vocational evaluation to give some testing, some interest testing, some aptitude testing, and then we'll try to match those skills and interest with a job that is available in our community. After the initial interview, we're going to do the eligibility process. And that process is where we really rely on our providers and or our consumer to help us gather medical documentation to show that yes, you do have a disability and yes, you do have barriers to employment, and that our services will really help you with your employment goals. So that could be a treatment plan from a mental health provider. It could be a person-centered plan from your IDD case manager. It could be a lot of different things. So if you ever have any questions, please ask the VR counselor that you're working with about the eligibility. And then we would next do a plan with the person, and we call that a plan for employment, an individualized plan for employment, which is very similar to an individualized education plan. So we didn't do that on purpose to confuse anyone, but it's an IPE rather than an IEP. So the plan for employment really outlines all the services that a person we feel like is going to need to be successful. And that is a partner approach with the client, with the VR counselor, and anybody else they want in that room to help them out. We're okay having case managers in the room. If they're more comfortable having a brother sitting next to them during that meeting, we really want it to be as comfortable as possible during every VR meeting. So that is vocational rehabilitation in a nutshell. And then I also wanted to talk about another very important program called Pre-Employment Transition Services Program. We call that PREETS for short. PREETS is involved with our students. So if you haven't heard of PREETS from a high school special ed teacher or a transition coordinator, you might want to tell them to check out pre-employment transition services through vocational rehabilitation. Pre-ed specialists specialize in working with people in the education setting, and that could be a GED setting, it could be an alternative school setting, a regular high school setting, or it can be a college setting, community college or otherwise, other colleges. And they help them with self-advocacy skills. They can help them set up a paid work-based learning experience, which has been really valuable for our students that don't have much work history, don't really know what work is all about. And it is clocking in and out, working with a supervisor, learning tasks, trying to figure out where their interests are in the community. These are paid, they're $7.25 an hour. And we work with actually Key Staffing, a staffing provider to do the payroll and cover the benefits and things like that, and liability and insurance. So those paid work-based learning experiences are just so valuable to all our students. We all have those first jobs, and sometimes a little more support is needed for that first job, and that's what we want to be there for. And those first jobs, this experience could also have a job coach on site, and that is completely fine. And employers are very open to the idea. They are getting more and more open every day to coaches. Some settings are more open than others, but that is certainly where our expertise lies, is talking to employers about the benefits of accommodating a person with a disability and what exactly that looks like. So coaching is a big aspect of that. The pre-ed specialist can also work with them on researching different colleges in their community. If they are wanting to go to college, then they can do tours with them. They can help them with a financial aid information if they need to apply for financial aid. And they could also, a huge part is getting them connected with vocational rehabilitation. So often we get the referral, Voc Rehab counselor would get a referral and they're getting ready to graduate. And vocational rehabilitation, really, we'd like to have the plan for employment done before they graduate. And that way they have a clear plan on what's next. And they know, okay, I'm going to work with this job placement provider, and they're going to help me with this. And we're going to meet once a week, and they're going to help me find that job. We don't want for a student to graduate and then just maybe sit at home for a year or two, possibly losing skills, possibly losing the socialization piece and just feeling a part of their community. We really want community involvement and for the student to transition on to that next step quite smoothly and easily. So the pre-eds has allowed that to happen. That relationship is strong between the pre-ed specialist and the VR counselor. They work together to ensure that the person has filled out the VR application. They can share any medical records with us as we're the same agency to ensure that a person is getting those smooth services to transition into adulthood. And we realize it's a really scary time sometimes for students and their families. And we want you to know that we are here to help you through all of that. And just because special ed services are ending doesn't mean all services are ending for the student with a disability. We're still here. We're going to be here forever. And a person can come through our program as many times as needed. It's not just for younger people. We have people applying for our services that are 40 years old, 50 years old. We are here for any person with a disability if it causes a barrier to employment, and we're going to help them until they gain employment. And people can come in and out of our program too. So just because we close your case successfully, you're working, we close your case, maybe in a couple of years, you want to try to find a better job, or you do want to try to go to training now. You weren't ready back then, but now you want to do some training. We can reopen your case. We're going to use the old records, hopefully to determine your eligibility, and we're going to get moving with the next case. So pre-employment transition services work very closely with schools. So again, if you have not heard of this service, or your school that you're in hasn't heard of Preamps, I would highly encourage them to reach out to us. Rick Deason is the manager in the Kansas City region, and I can get Stephanie the contact people in each region. So any questions so far from the group?
I do not see any. Does anybody have any questions? You can either put them in the chat or feel free to turn on your mic. We do have one. Does KRS keep and provide successful employment data of its providers? For example, Project Search has a 73% successful employment rate of its participants. Is this data available?
It's not available right now, but I know that our new director, Daniel Decker, is thinking about making that public for all to see. So when we talk about providers, that means we have a group of providers per each county, and this would be throughout the state of Kansas, that a person can choose to work with. And those providers provide that job placement assistance. So the resume training, the application training, the interview training. So there's a whole host of providers that a person has to choose, and it's all about informed choice. That is a very important part of VR. So we might hand you a list of 5 job placement providers in your area, and we would like you to pick one. We would like for you to call those providers and say, hey, I'm looking for a manufacturing job. Do you actually have any connections out there? And how often do you want to meet with me? I really want to meet with someone twice a week. Do you have time in your caseload to do that? So we give them a list of questions to ask people, and then choose a provider that is going to be the best fit for them. And personality really matters too. So yes, Joe, to answer your question, that might be something that we provide to families in the future, because I can understand that. I would want to pick one that's going to be successful with my family member. However, if something's not working out with that provider, again, with informed choice, you could talk to the counselor and say, you know, I don't think this is a good match after all. I would like to choose another provider, and we could start over again.
Another question came in. Does a child need, excuse me, does a child need to have a 504 or IEP in high school in order to be eligible for Preamp? I'm guessing that's the Preets.
Preets, we do need a 504 and IEP, or be eligible for one of those. So it doesn't necessarily mean they have to have that, but that they would have a barrier that would make them eligible for that. So again, if you're not really sure, I would go ahead and seek out the service and fill out the application and see. Any kind of barrier to learning, any kind of communication barrier, any kind of mobility barrier. There's a lot of different barriers that we're going to look at. And if you feel like your family member does need that, then we could certainly help the eligibility piece. And as I mentioned, if you have 0 assessments, I mean, we could even do psychological assessments, and that would be completely free to all families for that. We used to have an economic need policy in Voc Rehab, and that has been, we did away with that, which is a really great thing. It opened the door for so many more families, and we're so happy that we don't have that limitation anymore.
That's great to hear. So is Preets offered across the state now? I know when it first came out, there were some areas that didn't offer it, weren't as
Yes.
open to it maybe.
Mm-hmm. So we have 5 Preets for each region. So in the Kansas City region, we have 2 in Johnson County, for example. We have 1 shared between 2 smaller counties, and then every other county has 1. Some schools have been a little difficult to get in the door with, I will say. They don't really understand pre-employment transition services. They think, well, we already have this program. Why do we need you guys coming in? We're already doing all this stuff. And we try to help them understand that we're trying to strengthen any programming that they already have. If they have good programming, that's great. But is there anything we can do that the school's not already doing to just increase independence or talk about self-advocacy or anything that we can do to work together with that school? So it's not a competition thing. It's not we're trying to take somebody's job. It is simply we want to work together to try to help the person be successful.
Yeah, the more help, the better the success with the
Yes,
support.
for sure.
So, does anybody else have any questions? And I don't see any on Facebook, so not at the moment.
Okay.
Did you have more, or did you?
I'm trying to think if there's anything else, and I think might have more questions at the end, maybe. So evals for free.
There is a couple more questions that came in.
Okay.
Johnson County has 2. How many does Wyandotte County have, if any?
For the pre-employment specialist,
I
right
think so.
now we actually have a vacancy because Rick was a pre-ed specialist there and now he was promoted to manager. So we do have a pre-ed vacancy, but we will be filling that position. So there's 1 in Wyandotte. 2
So are you still taking applications for that?
We are.
Okay.
Posting it, actually.
Anybody watching this tonight can,
Yes,
go and apply if they're
watching.
interested.
We have a lot of openings in the VR department, actually. We have 1 part-time position that's an admin, like a clerical type position in Wyandotte. We have a VR counselor position in Wyandotte. And we have a clerical position in Lawrence that's full-time. That will be full-time. It's not posted yet. And a manager, actually, for Johnson County. So there's a lot of different opportunities throughout the state of Kansas for VR. And we would highly encourage you to apply if you're interested in working for the state. So, but back to the question, I think it was about evaluations. And yes, any kind of evaluation would be free. Like I said, we don't have the economic need policy anymore. So we do a lot of mental health evaluations, actually, where a person comes to us and says, I think I have depression. I felt this way for 2 years, but I've never gone and gotten any help, but I'm ready to do that now. So we will send them for a mental health evaluation. Or if a person had experienced a lot of problems in school, but was never formally diagnosed, or just kind of maybe went under the radar and nobody noticed, maybe we can certainly send for a psychological evaluation. We can do physical therapy evaluations, speech therapy evaluations, any kind of evaluation that's going to show us what is the barrier to employment and what kind of services can we do to help the person resolve that barrier and be successful.
This question was an employment evaluation too.
Employment evaluation, is that vocational evaluation maybe to learn what kinds of employment a person wants to do? I think that's
probably what she's referring to.
Yes, we can do vocational evaluation. So we work with providers for that too. And then we have 1 internal one in the Kansas City region. So we would do a lot of different interest testing and aptitude testing. We do some hands-on activity, like say somebody they think they want to be a file clerk. We have some hands-on samples that we can see how do they do with filing? Is that something that they can learn, or is that something that they're really good at? So we have some hands-on things too. We can also do assessments in the community. We call those community-based work assessments, where a person might not know how much work they can tolerate or what kind of skills they even have. It might be someone who can't communicate maybe what they want. So we would try out different settings and different duties and just see where the person is really excelling, or also what the person really doesn't like that particular duty. Both of those pieces of information are very valuable. So there's a lot of different assessments that we can do. Yes, the vocational, community-based, and any kind of outside provider assessment we can do for free.
Okay. Is KRS considering requiring certified employment specialists?
I think that is for the provider side. I know that is a piece that is being talked about with the new administration that we have, because we would like our providers to be the best that they can be. We have started quarterly trainings and meetings with those providers to help increase knowledge of and best case practices in employment. We have some providers who do specific models of employment. We have others that just kind of do their own thing. We certainly do talk to our providers if we feel like there is any concerns or if there is problems with performance, we will certainly talk to them. And we welcome any and all feedback about things are doing well or any concerns that they have from clients directly or others in the community that are experiencing any issues. So if there ever is a problem with a provider, I would certainly love to know about that.
And I did put the link to your website in the chat. So it is in there. And if you have a specific email address that they should know about, if you want to put that in there as well, that would be great. So
I can do that.
All right, well, let's move on to Nancy then. Nancy is from the Working Healthy program and has lots of great information to share with us too.
Yeah, hi, thank you again for including me tonight. It's nice to be able to share these programs because they are really nice work incentive programs for anyone looking at competitive integrated employment and interested in what those what benefits they can gain from employment. I'm here representing the Working Healthy program, which has been around since 2002, but I still run across people that have not heard of it. So it's nice to be able to share. Working Healthy is a Medicaid program, and in Kansas, that's called CanCare. So so a person has to be eligible for Medicaid in order to be eligible for Working Healthy. Working Healthy was authorized as part of the Ticket to Work and Work Incentives Improvement Act. And back in the early 2000s, late 1990s, Social Security asked people with disabilities about employment and what the barriers were that they believed were barriers to going to work. And people said, primarily, I don't want to lose my health insurance. I don't want to lose those benefits that come with health insurance. And so these programs were created as work incentive programs. They're called sometimes Medicaid buy-in programs, and they're located in different states all through the United States and called different things. But in Kansas, it's called Working Healthy. And so someone who is employed can, well, one of the big incentives for Working Healthy is that if you're Medicaid eligible, you probably have to spend down some of your income. And some of those spend downs are thousands of dollars for people. So Working Healthy offers a premium in lieu of the large spend down. The premiums can run anywhere from $55 on up to $152. And so that is a big incentive for a lot of people. We've had people who really needed their needed medications, and they were almost out of reach for them because of the expense of spending down their income. And so this was a lifesaver for a number of people. In order to be eligible for Working Healthy, you're a Kansas resident, 16 to 65. We define employment as earnings over $65.01 a month. You would have a job that would pay you minimum wage. and that is $7.25, I think, in Kansas. And pay a job paying FICA, or if you're self-employed, you make that self-employment, that SECA self-employment payment. I shared some of these with Stephanie, these fact sheets for working healthy and for work. And I'm going to talk a little bit about our new program that's coming too, which is called STEPS. But I wanted you to have just a single one-page kind of fact sheet that is easy to kind of look at. And I'm not going to read these to you, but I wanted you to have them in case you wanted a little more information or were interested. It also, on these fact sheets, gives you a link to our website where you can find all kinds of contact information for us and much more information. They're actually located now on the CanCare website under consumers, and you'll find working healthy as one of those options on the drop-down box. I kind of wanted to talk to you a little bit about not just the nuts and bolts of these programs, but kind of some of the pieces of it that I think are just really important to people. And those are the benefits of employment, the socialization that comes along with having a job, increased income, the ability to have something meaningful in their life to go to every day. We spend a lot of time busting myths about employment. And, you know, again, one of the big myths is if you go to work, you're going to lose all of your benefits. Well, we have a cadre of working healthy benefits specialists, and they're located in different regional areas across the state of Kansas. On our website, you can find the map and names and contact information of benefit specialists. And each of the benefit specialists have to complete a certification for benefits planning, which is about a year-long training. And so they are very well trained. They're very knowledgeable about Medicaid, Medicare, SSI, SSDI, and how earnings might affect any of those benefits, as well as any of the other benefits, food stamps, housing that somebody might have. So that when somebody is trying to decide, should I go to work, should I not, they can have enough information to make an informed decision. Here's what it looks like right now. Here's what it would look like if you had earnings. And that really helps people to really make a decision about whether they want to go to work or whether they want to enroll in working healthy. And our benefit specialists, I believe, are just very well trained. They provide a great deal of outreach as well. So if you are interested in having them come and speak to a group or to a family or an individual, they are certainly more than willing to do that. Everybody's situation is a little bit different, and so they will take the information that they have and help answer questions or do a full benefits planning for you. There's no charge, there's no cost to their assistance. A certain number of people who are eligible for working healthy also need some personal assistance in order to get to work. And so we have an additional program under Working Healthy So if a person is also employed and enrolled in Working Healthy, they can receive some personal assistance services under the work program, and that's a Work Opportunities Reward Kansans. Everything is an acronym at the state, and so is work. And it is a program that provides attendant care for people, ADLs, so activities of daily living, which are personal care types of supports, and instrumental activities of daily living, which are more things like shopping and housekeeping. And it also provides, it allows a person to choose an alternative to human support to provide those supports. So if a person would rather have meals delivered, or would rather have some type of lifeline support rather than have human assistance, they can do that. When work was developed, people with disabilities helped us really create this program, and they said to us, if we had more control over how people were paid and what they were paid and who we could choose, we believe we could get a better bang for our buck. And so under the work program, people are given or assessed as needing a certain number of hours of support, which is turned into a budget. And so they have a pot of money which they can use to purchase their services. They can hire their own attendants, or they can have an agency, or they can have a combination of both. They can purchase those alternative services, which are sometimes less expensive than having human assistance. And they can carry over some funds every month if they choose to do so, or if they need to do so, or able to do so. And they can take those leftover funds and use those if they have an emergency and need to purchase a piece of equipment that could make them more independent, or help them be a little more employable. There's also a case management piece to this. They're called independent living counselors, and they help people self-direct their services. They can help them create their budget and how they want to spend their funds. They can help them hire and train. They help link them with services in the community. There's also an assistive technology piece. So if someone needs a home modification or a piece of equipment, those funds are available. So that's the Working Healthy and then the work program. We also have a new pilot that will be rolling out July 1st. And it is called, again, another acronym, STEPS, which means Supports and Training for Employing People Successfully. And this is a pilot program, and it is a pilot that will assist people to become employed and maintain that employment. So some of the services that are offered under that are kind of a pre-voc exploration, independent living skills training, there's supported employment offered, transportation, which is a big issue in lots of different areas in Kansas, personal care attendance. There's a case management piece that we're calling community support coordination, assistive technology. This pilot is still being kind of developed. It takes a lot of work to put something like this together across the state. The pilot can serve up to 500 people. And it'll be a first come, first served basis. people who are eligible for this are people that would be on a waiver or waiting list for physical disability, intellectual developmental disability, or brain injury, one of those 3 waivers or their waiting list, and who are also SSI only. And the other group that's eligible for this are people who have a behavioral health diagnosis, and those folks can be SSI or SSDI. They would, again, need to be eligible for Medicaid, age 16 to 64, determined disabled through Social Security, much like Working Healthy and Work. But this would be, I believe, a really nice opportunity for students who are in that transition from school to work. We are partnering very closely with education. We're partnering very closely with Voc Rehab, so that we don't duplicate services, but so that we can work with them and provide those other supports that somebody might need. Our goal is really integrated competitive employment for folks, and to provide those supports and training and those programs that make that that goal for them achievable. So what else did I want to tell you about here?
Nancy, we also had a couple questions in the chat too.
Oh, good.
Those would be
All
helpful.
right.
Yeah, we
Thank
had
you,
one from Diane that said, your working healthy flyer says your net family income must be below a certain limit. What is that limit, and is that the income of the person with IDD or their entire family, i.e. parents?
That for working, you're working healthy?
Yeah.
And the flyer says that.
Mm-hmm. She put in there that it says your net family income must be below a certain limit.
There is a limitation. It's accountable income, and it's 300% of federal poverty level for an individual. So 300% of federal poverty level at countable income is somewhere in the neighborhood of $47,000. So that's the max that someone can earn and still be eligible for working healthy. If you're 100% of federal poverty up to 100% of federal poverty level, you would not pay any shared cost. You wouldn't have any premium, but the premiums are based from 100% of federal poverty level to 300% of federal poverty level. And remember, I said those are $55 to $152 for premiums. So it kind of depends on what your income is. I also I'm so glad you brought that up, because that reminded me that another really nice benefit of the Working Healthy and Work program is that under traditional Medicaid, your benefit, your asset limit is $2,000 for, well, you can have home, you can have a car, but your asset, your cash on hand and things that you can turn into cash cannot be over $2,000. But under Working Healthy and Work, your assets can be up to $15,000, and you can have unlimited retirement accounts. So that for a lot of people is a real benefit.
Nancy, a quick clarification on that last question. So that is the income of the person receiving the services, right? If they're over the age of 18, parents' income is not included in that household.
If
they're over 18.
It would be until they're 18.
Right. So anytime after 18, the
Mhm.
parent's income is no longer.
If they are a student, there's a student exemption, so you wouldn't pay a premium for anything
Gotcha.
over, yeah, you wouldn't pay a premium if you're eligible and you're a student.
Nancy, there's another one too. There's one that says, would an increase of Medicaid funding in Kansas expand the Working Healthy program or increase the reimbursement for PCAs?
I don't know that increase in Medicaid funding expand the what would there's no limit to the number of people that we could have in Working Healthy. There's no waiting list for Working Healthier work. I would love to see I'd love to see an increase in reimbursement for PCAs. I don't believe that's going to, I mean, just honest, I don't believe that's going to happen this year, but I do want you to know that we are working on that. Our base rate has not changed since 2006, since the program rolled out. So I don't disagree, and neither does KDHE leadership, that reimbursement rate needs to increase. I just realized I'm on Facebook now too, saying that, but but it's true. It's true, Joe.
Did you see that other one in there too?
I do. It says, you talk about working without losing Medicaid benefits, but can you lose SSI if a person with IDD makes too much at a job? Yes, you can lose SSI if you go over the $2,000 federal limit. Yes, you can if you're SSI. Someone who is SSI and on a waiver and is interested in this new pilot definitely needs to have the benefits planning, needs to talk with a benefit specialist so they understand that if they do have resources over $2,000 and if they are earning what they need to earn to go off of SSI and what that might mean, what they would be giving up so that they can really make an informed decision about that and really understand what those increased earnings or those increased resources might mean. So that's a really good question. And I'm really happy to be able to answer that one.
Are there any additional questions for Nancy? And I did put the website out there, or the website for Working Healthy in the chat, as well as on the Facebook chat, if you are interested in getting that information.
Thank you. I'm gonna type my email address too in the chat. And if you have any questions or you want any help connecting to more information or to a benefit specialist, you just email me and I'll be glad to help out with that.
You know what, a question I forgot about I had. So a lot of the services that you are talking about are some of the same services that Kelly was talking about, VR offers. So can you work with like your VR counselor and then benefit specialists so that we can maximize both programs at once without getting that overlap?
Yes, absolutely. We hope people will. We do hope people will. We do a lot of, we connect on and overlap with a lot of different things with Voc Rehab and work very closely with Voc Rehab. We even have our benefit specialists are even invited into Voc Rehab training for new Voc Rehab counselors, so that they know they have a resource to go to as well, if they ever need it, because it is complicated. It is very complicated. And it's nice to have somebody with that knowledge to help offer you that guidance. And it's also nice for Voc Rehab and for us to know what supports somebody are currently using and what might be helpful to them. We don't want to duplicate services, but we certainly want to be able to offer those services to, and I'm going back to old school, but to kind of wrap services around somebody.
Yeah.
And provide those services that they need.
Oh, I had a question and I just lost it. Oh, I know. I was just going to make a comment. You said they're really complicated, and I absolutely agree. I've seen a couple of your presentations, and I still don't understand all of it and how it works. So, but I'm not going to be a benefit specialist, so I don't need to know.
But you've got a resource for that.
That's right.
I took the training. I was certified back in 2002. I wouldn't touch benefits planning because there's so many changes, and you have to stay in with that and understand that and stay up to date on those constantly changing federal and state regulations. So I don't do that, but I know where to go to get that information.
That's what I love about my job. I'm a conduit, and I know people. Yep. That's all I need to know. I just need to know people. So,
yeah.
Great.
And if you know working healthy benefit specialists, like whenever we go to a conference or a group of people, I always ask, do you know the benefit specialist in your area? Have you had any contact? And an unbelievable number of hands will go up. So they're really well respected. And if you've ever heard the name Earl Williams, you're going to know, he's just
I've heard him once. Yeah.
Stellar individual.
He's down in the Wichita area, right?
He's in Topeka now, but I bet Wichita would like to have him.
The governor just approved 2 more benefit specialists for the state.
Good.
Yes, they did.
That's great.
They did. Advocates helped us a great deal with that.
Excellent. Great.
Yeah.
Hey, Stephanie, we need to continue raising the heat.
That's right, Robin. Always raising the heat to get what we need for individuals, huh? You do a great job, Robin. All right. Well, I don't see any more questions, so we will move on to Cheryl and Artis from Project Search to talk about that.
Thank you so much. Give me just a minute to share my screen here. Sure. So as Stephanie said, I'm Cheryl Locker. I'm the state coordinator for Project Search, and I'm very excited to be able to share just a real broad overview of what Project Search is. If you're interested in more information, I do encourage you to reach out to Artis or I. Project Search is a school to work transition program. We also have some adult programs that you can participate in once you graduate from school. But it was founded in 1996 at Cincinnati Children's Hospital by Erin Riley and Susie Rakowski, 2 amazing women who saw a need. Erin worked in the emergency department at Cincinnati Children's Hospital and realized that you really didn't see any of the role models for the children who were being served at the Children's Hospital, working at the hospital. And Susie was a special education teacher. They combined their brains and came up with Project Search. It is now an international program with over 540 programs across all nations everywhere. What Project Search really unique is it is actually based in a business, what we call a host business. and it's sponsored by the school district. And they are in the business. They do some classroom work, working on things like soft skills, like how to have a conversation during lunch, or how to dress appropriately for work, or how to have conversations in walking down the hall, or even those simple kinds of things. And then they also do 3 rotations in that host business, learning different skills that are meant to be marketable in the community that they will be looking for a job. It is fully integrated into a work setting, so it looks very different than going to school and learning these work skills. The single goal of Project Search is for interns to then graduate from the program and have employment. We want it to be competitive and integrated, which means it should be year-round work. They need to be paid minimum wage or higher, really the wage that that position pays anybody. They need to be individual jobs in the community, working along other coworkers who do not have disabilities. Really, we want it to be based on the interests and abilities of that person as well, very individualized. This is the eligibility requirements for somebody to participate in Project Search. So if it's a school eligible program, it is somebody who is 18 to 21. For our adult programs, they will take someone from 18 up to about 35. We do have the adult and hybrid, and the hybrid model means that there are students and some young adults. So we do want our interns to at least have the ability to have appropriate hygiene, some social and communication skills, but those are all taught during Project Search. They do need to have the ability to at least take direction and change their behavior if feedback is given. We like them to have access to public transportation, but we're in Kansas and some of our rural areas don't have a lot of access to public transportation, so we work around that. The most important thing that makes somebody eligible for Project Search, though, is their desire to work. If they really want to work, they will be successful with Project Search. This is where the Project Search sites are currently located in Kansas. As Joe pointed out, Project Search does have a 73% success rate with secure employment. And if you do not see your location in this list of locations, a lot of our programs in Kansas started because a parent said, I want an option for my child to really learn good employment skills, and I know Project Search can do that. And they went to the school district and they advocated for the program to come to their school district. That's what it takes, is for one person to have that passion to help move the program along. And it can be there. I've been talking to a lot of school districts lately, and there was kind of a myth out there that only big school districts can support this. We have one of our programs is in Marion County at Tabor College, which is in Hillsborough. Very rural, very small program. So it can be anywhere if there's the passion for the program. So here's my contact information. I believe you all got that in the slides that were sent out. I'll also put it in the chat as well. But if anybody's interested in helping somebody set up a program, or if you're interested in finding out for sure if there is a location in your area, feel free to reach out to me and I would be happy to provide you with that information. I now want to hand it over to Artist Brian, who is our Project Search instructor at our Salina site, so that she can just share some really great stories.
Well, thank you everyone for having us participate in this meeting. So the first thing that we're going to show you is the YouTube video that was published last week by Salina Regional about our Project Search program. So celebrating our 10 years.
Maybe we'll show it. Worked earlier.
This year, Project Surge and Salina Regional Health Center
celebrated their 10-year partnership.
We love Salina Regional!
Artist, why don't you tell us about Project Search and some of the highlights of those 10 years?
Well, Project Search is a business-based training and transition program that's based at Salina Regional. We train young adults with disabilities who are age 18 to 21 in work skills at the hospital so that they can get jobs in their home community. We have now served 100 interns over those 10 years who have come from 12 different counties in central Kansas. We have a 73% employment rate for those 10 years, and so we're very proud of what the interns have accomplished.
Luke, let's switch over to you as a current intern at Salina Regional. Why don't you tell us what some of your areas you've worked at so far?
Well, first off, I went to high school in Gardner, Edgerton, and I applied to Project Search when we knew we were moving to Salina. My first rotation was in central service. I learned how to stock returns, fill the surgical case cards for the OR, and prepare surgical supplies. My second rotation is in NDC, and my responsibilities include fill and deliver department supply orders. For third rotation, I would like to apply for environmental services. Currently, I work part-time at Dillon's as a courtesy clerk. I liked working in Salina Regional because I like to help, I like to meet new people and helping them get what they need. I hope to work there someday.
It's always great seeing you around the hospital delivering things. Artists, obviously COVID has changed everything within the hospital. How has that affected you guys at Project Surge?
Well, last year in the spring, of course, the schools were all closed. So we went to virtual classes on Zoom. And fortunately, our interns were at a point during the school year where we're just finishing up some of their employment materials, like their resume and their portfolios, and getting things ready for them. This year, we were able to start out face-to-face when school started, and that's been really important for us. We did have 8 days of virtual classes, and so we didn't skip a beat much. We've been back strong since then, and our interns have handled all the changes very, very well.
I hope you know, Luke and Artis, your interns are such an integral part of Salina Regional Health Center. We love seeing you around the place.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. For more information, please visit srhc.com, like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Okay, so what I'm going to share is a little bit of our story. So, you know, like we said, it's been 10 years, and it's exciting to know that we have some interns, some of our alumni who now have been employed for since the spring of 2012. So our first person that we have here is Jennifer Gormley. Jennifer was at the high school that I was teaching at. I'm a special education teacher and a transition specialist. And so Jennifer was at my high school, Salina South High School. She, I talked her into coming to Project Search. She wasn't sure she wanted to do it, but she did want to work for the school district. So she has been working in USD 305 and food service at Salina South High School since the spring of 2012. Okay, next slide. This is Lance. Lance was in our second class, and he has his employment service award already from the hospital. But Lance is probably our earliest to get hired during a school year. Lance put in, we were doing some practice applications and used an application for environmental services. And so they called him and interviewed him, but he'd already done some really significant work at the hospital, and they were seeing his work ethic. And so they hired him in September their school year, and he went right to work, and he's been there ever since. He's one of their steady Eddie guys. He works full-time, full benefits. One of the first things that he saved up for was a car, and he also helps transport some of his coworkers to work. This is Dakota. So Dakota is a great story because Dakota lived in a small town, and he's a big guy. You know, he's like 6'5" and 340. I mean, he's just a big guy, a young man with autism, just really, really enjoys working, very particular about his work, very structured. And he did a really great job with us in Project Search. Well, he had an opportunity through working with his employment specialist through Workforce Solutions in Salina through OCCK to apply for a job at Foot Locker Distribution Center. So they took pictures and video that we took of our intern of Dakota while he was working at Salina Regional. And they said, wow, you know, we think he can do this. Well, since then, Foot Locker has set up an initiative that they really want to hire a lot more people with disabilities. And I like to think that it has something to do with Dakota because he's been there since 2014. He's worked really hard. And, you know, they want to increase their numbers of people with disabilities within their distribution centers. So I think that Dakota has done that. Cool story. I ran into a family friend here just recently, and he was talking about how Dakota had gone through this program over in Salina, and we were standing there, and I said, who was that? And so he said, well, you know, he went through this program and he got trained, and then he went to go work at Foot Locker Distribution Center. And I said, Dakota. And so we got to kind of catch up through a family friend, you know, on how he was doing. So that was exciting to us. So next one. This is Jared, and Jared got a job at Menards. His dad had some really good connections with people in town, and Jared was very excited because his own application with Menards and you know, his dad's connections to some different places, he actually had 2 job offers in the same day. And so he asked me, who do you choose? You know, how do you pick? And I said, well, whichever one you feel like you want to go work for, you know, which one do you like best? And so he took the job at Menards, and it was been a really good choice for him. He was in the first year, he was employee of the week, he was employee of the month, and then he was employee of the year in 2018. This is Jessica. Jessica's on the right in this picture, and on the left is Mariah. Jessica is an employee with Salina Regional now, and she came to us through our adult grant program. Mariah, the one on the left, is one of our current interns. So what's exciting about this picture is that Jessica was helping to train Mariah. Well, Jessica's story is pretty interesting because when she came to us, she can talk. She didn't talk very much. And it was really hard to understand her. She doesn't read or write. She had been working in a custodial enclave through a disability provider. And she works really hard all the time. She smiles all the time, but she wants to be busy. And so she was actually recruited by the Environmental Services Department in February of our year that she came to Project Search. We had a Disability Employment Initiative grant that allowed us to take adults 3 years into our program, and it was a really great opportunity. But Jessica was hired in 2017. She works on the rehabilitation floor, and they just absolutely love her because she smiles all the time, she gets her work done, and she likes to be helpful. So this is Tacita. Tacita actually, after coming to Project Search, we hired her to become one of our skills trainers. And so this slide I love because part of her goals was to be able to learn how to drive and maybe have a vehicle. And so because she's been working, she's been able to accomplish the goal of getting a vehicle, but the vehicle needs some modifications so that she could actually drive independently. So now she has her own car that she saved up for. She wrote a past plan for Social Security and saved up cash, paid cash for that nice van there, and will be going back to Avenues driving probably when she's ready to look at some different modifications so that maybe she can drive on her own. And this is Santi. So Santi was in our class, and the bright blue light that you see behind him is a UVC, Clorox UV Enlight system. And it is a UVC light that's used to sterilize a room after it's been cleaned. It sterilizes the field using UVC rays. And so Santi learned how to use this during the year. He did a really good job with it. At the end of the year, they needed some people to go treat some rooms. And so they called and they said, hey, do you have somebody available? And I said, hey, Santi's ready. He could go do it. And we can pull him from his internship and go do that for you today. And so they pulled him. And in the conversation, they said, you know, we really need to have somebody that could do this full time. And so they ended up hiring Santi on full time, full benefits at Salina Regional. He did not have Social Security and Medicaid before. And so he really needed to have a job with full benefits. So they are really glad that they hired him because he is willing to just jump in anywhere to help out whoever during his workday, and he gets his work done very well. So these are our partners that are in our Project Search site, and we cannot express enough about the support that we've had from our team. And we really appreciate everybody's input and part of Project Search and helping us keep this program going. We have 13 interns this year, and we've already done our interviews for next year. We have 13 and expecting to bring on one more. So it's a big class again. We're real excited about that. So here's contact information for our site, and we'll leave this up for just a bit. You can take a picture of that with your phone or a screenshot. If you need to email me and ask questions about our program serves 12, or actually 7 counties in our special ed co-op. We serve 12 different school districts in Central Kansas, but we have contracted with individuals from special education co-ops outside of Central Kansas Cooperative in Education. For just some information about our site, you know, some people say, well, you know, who employs you? Well, I'm actually employed by the school district. My skills trainers, who I couldn't do this program without, we have 3 skills trainers right now, Pam, Darla, and Tacita. And today was actually Skills Trainer Appreciation Day. So I have to put a plug in for them because they're the face of our team out around the hospital. When I can't get out to see everybody and to work with all the interns, they're the ones that keep everything going, and they're the go-between that makes sure that our departments are happy and that they're getting the support that they need for our interns. But we're all employed by USD 305 and Central Kansas Cooperative in Education. And then our classroom is at Salina Regional. We've gotten tremendous support from the hospital. They provided an awesome room for us there. We have a great working relationship with them. If I'm looking for a particular type of site, I feel comfortable in contacting those department directors and saying, hey, what do you think about this? You know, I have an intern that's interested in learning more about this. What do you think about that? And so, you know, we've been there long enough now that they are willing to let us try something out to see if it might work. So we really, really appreciate the partnership. They also have been very supportive. You just saw a few pictures of the individuals who are employed by the hospital, they actually have hired probably 35% of our in-town interns at Salina Regional. And for our out-of-town interns, I have them coming anywhere from 55 to 100 miles away. This year I have 55 miles for 2 interns, but you know, they would like to go work for Salina Regional if they could, but they hire a great number of our interns that are in town. So we really appreciate their support. We also work really closely with Voc Rehab and with Working Healthy to make sure our families understand, you know, how working is going to affect Social Security and Medicaid benefits. And we've had interns, you know, some of our alumni now who have been working for a long time, who have maintained their Social Security and Medicaid benefits. They have, there's been a few who have decided to work themselves off of those benefits because they know now that they could go and get a full-time job again, because if something happened to the one that they have, they know that they could go get another job. And so, you know, that's a great boost in confidence. So if you're considering project search in your area, I would say go for it. It's been the best thing that we've done for our students with disabilities. I cannot say enough about the support that Project Search provides, that LifeShare provides to us, you know, in coordinating our Kansas groups, and then, you know, the support of the hospital and the staff that work around us. So, you know, it's just been an incredible thing for us. And so if you're considering it, do it, contact Cheryl. If you want to ask questions about our program, I wish I could take you on a tour. We're still kind of limited on our visitors in the hospital, but you know, I would do it. So I'm done. But you can like us on Facebook, you know.
Curtis, I know there's a couple of questions. Mackenzie, do you want to?
Sure, yeah. There was a question on Facebook that said, do you need to have sunflower as your Medicaid healthcare choice? So I'm assuming that means to use
No.
Nope.
In fact, no. In fact, you don't have to have Medicaid. You don't have to have CanCare. You can have family, can have private medical insurance. You have to be a person with a disability in our school district. Pretty much have to have an IEP in order to be accepted into our program.
Great, thank
Or
you.
a 504 plan. Yeah, a documented disability will work. So.
Okay, I think that, Rahel, does that answer your question?
Right.
Yeah. And then there's some praise from Joe in the chat too about appreciating your guys' enthusiasm and all the great work you do.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah. And then another question, does Project Search have a Facebook page, which I think you just said you guys do. Is it under that name?
Project Search Incorporated in Cincinnati has a Facebook page. Ours, Project Search at Salina Regional Health Center. So please give us a like. You know, we're trying to build our page a little bit. So.
And many of the Project Search sites across Kansas have Facebook pages. So you would just have to search for one in that area.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question, Artis. You mentioned that some of the individuals who participate drive 55 and 100 miles. Like, do they do that every day? Do they, I mean, that's a long haul.
It is.
I know it's out in Western Kansas, which is a little different, obviously, too.
Right. So Salina is like smack dab almost in the middle of the state. And so, you know, out west of us, there's not a lot going. I mean, there's a lot of smaller towns. So we have been able to work with some other school districts and some other special ed co-ops who have had individuals that they wanted to send to Project Search. Our special ed co-op actually extends 60 miles to the east of Salina, 60 miles to the west of Salina, and 30 miles to the north and south. And so it's a big area that we cover already. But I've contracted with 2 from Mankato, 2 students in our 10 years. We also have contracted with Lindsborg and McPherson Special Ed Co-op, which is south of us, about 30 miles. So, but they have contracted with us to send students to Project Surge. And, you know, we like to share. We want to make sure that we have as many interns or students served as possible. So there have been times that maybe like our program was full, that we've been able to refer our students or our applicants to another site, because we do have the Newton site that's a little bit more than 30 miles away, and also the Tabor College site. So that helped a little bit with some people who are a little bit further south of us to be able to participate in Project Surge. But right now I have 2 interns. I have one that's coming from Bushton, Kansas, which is pretty close to Great Bend, and then one that's from Harrington that are coming in this year. So their school districts, when they contract with us, or if they're part of our special ed co-op, part of that agreement is that they can come to Project Surge, and the school district contracts the student base aid if they're outside of our district. If they're inside of our special ed co-op, they're already covered under our special ed services. So they agree to transport them to Project Surge. Right now, our funding is only for those that are in high school. So that's, we don't have funding for adults. Like I don't have any scholarship money for adults who have already graduated from high school. So that sending school district agrees to transport them daily to Project Surge, following our calendar, to make sure that they get there every day.
So that brings me a question to Cheryl, because I know here in Johnson County, they don't have to be in high school, do they? I mean, you've had young adults.
Right. So that's what I was just going to pipe in and say. So each site is different and has different rules. So in Johnson County, we have actually 2 programs that serve adults only. And then we also have one down in Wichita. The one in Hillsborough is actually a hybrid, so they take adults and students. So it just really depends on the site. And so if you guys, that's why if you have questions about your own local area, please don't hesitate to reach out to me and I can hook you up with the right person.
For transportation, OCCK, which is our disability provider, they have a wide range. I think they cover like 13 counties in central Kansas. And so the ones that came from Mankato, they were actually, the school district was actually able to contract the transportation through OCCK instead of hiring an individual in their school district to transport and stay down in Salina all day and then transport back. So that was a really big savings to them to be able to have that service available to them. We also had the same thing with a student that was from the high school, Smoky Valley High School in Lindsborg. They were also able to contract, their school was able to contract their transportation through OCCK.
I'm learning all new Kansas town names. I know nothing of my geography outside of the Kansas City metro area. So you are like enlightening me so much.
Yeah.
Okay. So I am here. So but no.
Yeah. So in the middle of Kansas is 81 highway. It goes north and south, right? And so Mankato is actually, if you go straight up 81 from Salina to the Nebraska border and turn left on 36 highway and go 30 miles, you get to Mankato. So a long
I'm sure
way.
those that live in those areas know where you're talking about. So
it was 100 miles, each way.
I do have a question for Kelly then. Does VR assist in transportation for Project Search? Is that something, I don't know how all that works.
At this time, we don't. We did a little bit with the pandemic when it first started and the buses were not running in Lawrence, Kansas. We were able to step in and help, but normally it's the schools that are providing it in our area.
And the schools provide it then for the adults in the area too?
No, sorry, that is for the transition age. I think mostly they're using Johnson County Developmental Services for transportation.
It varies on the intern.
In the site. Yeah.
We have not helped yet, but but they can be a part of VR and Project Search. So we're just checking in with them, seeing how things are going. And we work closely with the Project Search team to see how they're doing and if they need to transition to placement services after that. So we all work together.
That's great.
We have had, because this is a transportation question, we have had some individuals who were able to get vouchers from Voc Rehab to use the door-to-door transportation, the general transportation with OCCK. And so that has helped too. Some of those, the families pay for it themselves, and some of it there's a few that have been funded through Voc Rehab.
Sorry, I have to laugh. There's a message in the chat. I thought everybody in Kansas was a Buffalo Bills fan too, Joe. So.
No.
Always giving me a hard time on my Buffalo Bills. I'm a transplant, if you don't.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody else have any questions? Or any last thoughts from any presenters? Anything you want to add, last minute adds? Okay. Well, I want to thank our presenters tonight, Cheryl, Kelly, Nancy, and Artis. It's been some great information. You know, I do want to just leave a disclaimer, since this is going to be a recording, that some of this information may have changed. If you see this in a year from now, some of that information may have changed. So don't hold them at their word for today's information too. But they are all going to be resources for years to come. So we appreciate them being here tonight and sharing this information. Our next family education series is going to be really exciting. It's going to be on elopement and what you need to know. Our main presenter is going to be Master Deputy Eric Wright with the Take Me Home program at the Johnson County Sheriff's Office. And then all of our Kansas Lend emerging leaders will be presenting on a document they put together on elopement for families. So we hope you can join us then. And for those of you who have done the pre-survey, we will be sending out the post-survey tonight. We appreciate the feedback. We always want to get better and offer more information that you want to hear about. So thank you, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.